Flash is one of the most powerful characters in the DC universe, and that is not only due to his incredible powers of super speed, but also due to the abilities he's able to utilize because of his connection to the Speed Force. One of the longest reigning iterations of the Flash we have seen is that of the TV show starring Grant Gustin as Barry Allen, aka The Flash. And despite the ups and downs of the show, each season we've seen some very powerful moments from our Scarlet Speedster, but which ones are actually the most powerful moments? So with that being said, let's go over the top 10 most powerful moments of The Flash in the TV show. So at number 10 spot I put this, Barry destroying the Royal Flush Gang. Now the reason is The Flash Season 8 was one of those seasons where The Flash was not nerfed as often he was in the other seasons of The Flash. Like one of the biggest complaints in this show is how much Barry got nerfed when he was facing off against villains that we know he'd mop the floor with anyways, but just for the plot itself, they made The Flash weaker. The Flash Season 8 was not like that. In this season of The Flash, Barry was actually dealing with more of his enemies on his own and he was getting less help. And the reason why I put this up there is because although this isn't really the most powerful moment we've seen of The Flash, it shows how easily Barry can mop the floor with his enemies without any effort. And this scene in particular really shows how OP The Flash is with his power traits if he's not nerfed. Like we see The Flash over here freezing timing, just completely defeating his enemies, and while he's doing that he's also continuously changing his mind in super speed so that the Royal Flush Gang cannot read his mind. And that's why I would consider this one of the most powerful moments of The Flash, because we were able to see firsthand how easily he can defeat his enemies if he actually tries to. So because of that, I'm just going to give this a 7 out of 10.
Barry.
Now, once again, just like the previous one, it isn't really the most powerful moment of The Flash, but it's one of the moments that we actually see Barry destroying the main villain pretty much on his own, if you count the help of Killer Frost outside of it, like when she just gets rid of the dagger. Once again, this is another trait showing exactly why The Flash should not be messed with. He pretty much just generates energy equivalent to 3 lightning bolts as he's just dashing at Cicada and just absolutely destroying him. And over here, Barry was enraged, obviously due to the fact that Cicada critically injured his daughter earlier on in the episode. And with full of anger, full of rage, we have the Flash absolutely destroying Cicada, and he's just refusing to hold back. And the reason why I put this is pretty much it just shows how much more powerful Barry could become if he doesn't hold back. He would be someone completely different, and this is why I put that. But again, it's pretty much like the previous scene. It isn't anything really all that much. It isn't really the most powerful moment, but it's one of the moments which we see him absolutely destroying his enemy with just absolute power. So this is why I've included this at number 9 spot, and I will give this around a 7 out of 10. Through the artificial speed force, not only was Barry able to get his speed back, but at a cost, he started to lose his emotions slowly throughout this episode. And the new artificial speed force also enhanced his thinking abilities. He was able to see a few seconds into the future. And over here, the Flash was way too overpowered. It was pretty much Clifford DeVoe as the Thinker and the Flash combined. And he was so overpowered, so much so that he ended up going against his own team and made them struggle terribly. He just mopped the floor with them, absolutely destroyed them. Once again showing how powerful the Flash really is at his full potential. And although this is more powerful than the other moments we've seen that I've mentioned previously, it still isn't the most powerful, but it is still pretty overpowered. And because of that, I will give this an 8 out of 10. Now, the reason why I consider this as a very powerful moment is because Barry was able to overcome the ability of the cell dampening his abilities, so much so that he was able to completely just destroy it as he charged up. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. Is it something that should have happened? Probably not. But regardless, it is still an incredible ability of the Flash. He was able to destroy the meta dampening cell, but also it should be mentioned that as soon as Barry got out of the Speed Force in the Flash Season 4, he's officially claimed the title of being the fastest man alive at this point. And because of that, I will also give this an 8 out of 10. Now, in this scene, Barry faces off against a telekinetic / telepathic villain known as Zotar. She pretty much lifts the Flash up using her telekinesis abilities and attempts to break every bone inside of the Flash, and you see Barry absolutely struggle. He's pretty much being torn apart over here, but Barry internally generates enough lightning and he lets that build up to a point where he literally goes all Super Saiyan mode and just causes a lightning explosion, which undoubtedly is a really sick and powerful moment. And again, it's one of those scenes in the Flash Season 8 which it shows that Barry doesn't really need the help of Team Flash. He can actually deal with his enemies on his own, and this is where he has the confidence in himself to do something like this. And bear in mind, this is a scene that we've never seen before on the show, and it's an ability we've never seen the Flash do. And the fact that it's not only a new ability, but also he ended up destroying his enemy on his own, shows how powerful the Flash is. And just because of that, I will give this scene an 8.5 out of 10. Now, in the scene over here, the Flash runs around the city to gain enough velocity to land a supersonic punch on a crashing satellite that can destroy the city. Now, of course, a supersonic punch is an incredibly powerful move of the Flash, and we've seen the Flash do this continuous times in the show. But the reason why this is one of the most powerful moments is because this is the most powerful supersonic punch we have seen the Flash do, and that's why I wanted to include it. But also there was a death risk involved in this one, and although he had help through Nora West Allen at the end, he still made it out alive. And because supersonic punch is incredibly powerful, plus the death risk involved, this is definitely one of the most powerful moments of the Flash. Also, CGI wise, I don't think we've ever seen a better CGI moment than this scene over here. And we've never seen such effects, Barry as he's running, he's fighting across the wind and it just generates some sort of power. We see the effects of it. And also how when he's speeding so fast, we have glass shattering everywhere he runs. We don't really see this much on the show just because of the low budget, but they've really done this so well in this scene, and I think they've done it really perfectly. And because of that, I will give this a 9 out of 10. Nothing much really needs to be said in this scene over here. This scene pretty much speaks for itself. He pretty much runs in and out of a black hole and pretty much comes out alive. Nothing really happens to him. Now, this isn't really considering the fastest moment of the Flash, but because his speed has to do with his powers as well, I guess they come in hand. But over here, Barry pretty much goes so fast that he just goes right through the black hole and comes right out without getting stuck. That's why I would consider this one of the most powerful moments of the Flash because of the black hole effect itself. And I would give this a 9.5 out of 10. Now, this is an honorable mention as I don't think it deserves a top 3 spot, but also considering that over here Barry lost a lot of his speed but was still able to accelerate to the point where he's supposed to accelerate, I think Mach 2 in 2 minutes, I think that's what it was. But he managed to not only do that, but then reverse the whole reverse Flashpoint timeline in the process as well. Really goes to show how powerful the Flash can be. Now, bear in mind, while he's accelerating at that speed around the whole globe, he nearly destroyed the whole world doing so as well, showing how dangerous the Flash can be, showing how powerful his abilities really are at the same time. I don't know what to give this. I'm going to give it a fair rating of 9.5 out of 10 because I think it is a very powerful moment of the Flash, but I don't think it really deserved a top 3 spot, and this is why I gave this an honorable mention. Now, although this is during season 1, Barry has reached speeds that he was never able to do at that time, and he was running back and forth to stop a massive tidal wave / like tsunami done by Weather Wizard from destroying the city. And the Flash reached length so much so that he accidentally time traveled, and this was when he time traveled for the very first time, and it was done by accident. And this is why it is undoubtedly one of the most powerful moments of the Flash ever. Yes, he wasn't as fast as I've mentioned from the previous scenes, because the previous scenes I mentioned are way ahead of season 1. But as I said, this video has nothing to do with the fastest moments of the Flash, but more so to do with the most powerful moments of the Flash. And once again, I will give this a 9.5 out of 10. Now, for those who know me, this is my absolute favorite scene of the Flash ever, and could even be argued that this is actually the most powerful moment we have seen ever on the Flash show, but I would definitely argue there is one more. This scene is just incredible, and you don't even need to consider just this scene in particular. You can pretty much consider the whole episode, add that into the whole mix as well. That is because the Flash pretty much fully freezing time, doing everything he can possibly do to stop an already exploded nuclear bomb, lasted longer than any speedster possible, and eventually, while still being extremely exhausted, he manages to outrun the Speed Force, the source of his own abilities, and eventually saves the day. Now, once again, this has nothing to do with the fastest moment of the Flash, but again, as I've said previously as well, because his speed has to do with his power at the same time as well, it does kind of come in hand. But as I said, you can consider the whole episode into this. You can consider the time where he just goes full on enter flash time, or you can consider this particular scene which I've added, which he outruns the Speed Force itself. But the fact that he's pretty much showed how OP he is throughout this entire episode is undoubtedly one of the Flash's most powerful moments ever. Once again, I would argue that it could be definitely the most powerful moment of the Flash, but I would just argue there is one more. But regardless, this scene I will give a 10 out of 10. Now, although we don't see crazy feats like we did with the other one in this one, the reason why I put this as the Flash's most powerful moment is because he gets the ability of all of the forces. So not just the Speed Force, but he also gets the Sage Force, the Still Force, and the Strength Force, pretty much being unstoppable. Like, he's got all of the powers of all of the forces in this scene, and we see him use these abilities in the Flash Season 8 finale as he faces off against thawne. He uses the powers of all of the forces, and it shows how powerful the Flash would be with the power of all of the forces. And just because of him having the power of all of the forces is exactly why I would consider this the Flash's most powerful moment, because he would be unstoppable with all 4 of the forces, and I will give this a 10 out of 10 as well. So yeah, that is pretty much it in terms of the most powerful moments of the Flash. Let me know what your most powerful moments are in the comment section down below, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.